Everyone, welcome back to Painted Studio. I am Maury Curtis Dunbar, your mistress of mass messes, and I am here to create. It is Wednesday, August whatever, I don't know, what am I looking at? August 12th, yay. I am here working in my studio. We're starting the first live right now. We're going to do another live in a little while to progress with the projects, but we're going to have some fun. Hey Gilda, nice to see you here. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple things. I finally finished up my kissing shorts. So I thought these would be, okay. As with anything here in the studios, you set it down for a minute and some form of adhesive gets stuck to it. So here are my fun little kissing shorts with the wine glasses and the golden red lips on them. I think those are going to be fun. I'm going to wear those until it's too hot, too cold to put on a pair of shorts again. And the next thing we're going to work on is some t-shirts and all this other fun stuff. And then we're going to work on some Christmas ornaments with our glass bead gel, but we're going to work on the first steps to get us to the bead gel stage. Sorry, that was a phone call. We're not answering it. I'll call them back after I'm done with our live. Yay! So I've got an olive color t-shirt mounted. We're going to use a heat transfer vinyl adhesive transfer on here in fall colors. And we're going to go with, we have a maple leaf cut out and I have to weed the outside. Hey Jenny, nice to see you. So what I'm going to ask you all to do while I figure out what I'm doing is choose. We're going to either use marble foil or camo fabric foil on our maple leaf design that I am about to finish the last little bit of weeding on and place it on our olive colored t-shirt. Yes, we are already moving into fall, so we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff like that starting right now. So, okay, I'm going to put this down here. I'll let you think about the two color foils to choose from while I weed out the last exterior of this, because the last time we did one of these, I was so smart I forgot to take the exterior out around the big shape. And yeah, my seashell turned into a sea slug. I'm not doing that twice. So I gotta peel all this outside edge off to get me my shape of the leaf. And if you see a little stuff stuck in here, it's because it was sitting on top of a piece of foil. And then the foil released on the sticky background. I'm so proud of myself. That's how things go in a studio. You get piles of stuff floating around, even when you try to keep everything flawless. Sometimes life gets in the way. All right, let's peel this off. And as always, we are open for business right now until 5 p.m. The front door is unlocked. Sometimes I leave it unlocked longer if it's a nice night out. I have people who wander in around 6 o'clock. So that means that there is always a chance that I could have a customer come in and need to talk to me while we're live. You've been through that with me before. So we're going to make sure that I take care of my customers and take care of all of you. So I'm going to set that to the side. You can see we have this mounted. Desiree said the first foil, which was the marble shatter. And we have the khaki, or I'm sorry, the camo. So we've got two foils to use on this shape. We've got one vote for the marble shatter, and then we have the military camo. So somebody keep voting. I'm going to see what the majority of you all say. All right, I've got to turn my iron on, and I'm setting it to wool because I have found with this particular very inexpensive sunbeam iron that the wool is the best for me to use on t-shirts to transfer this vinyl adhesive. This iron needs this heat. Hey Manetta. Desiree says foil. Jenny says the marble. All right. We're not, did I unplug it? Hang on a second, I unplugged the iron. No wonder it's not warm. Like, why is the iron warming? You know, you don't get to be smart like me without having been dropped on your head a few times. Okay, so the iron is now plugged in, which will help tremendously. And we're gonna get a hot iron because, you know, I was like, why isn't my light coming on? I'm so brilliant. Okay, and everybody please remember to sprinkle, because at the end of this month, we're going to be doing another contest that revolves around sprinkles. So Jenny knows that when I do a contest, I do it well. I try to make sure everybody gets a good prize for the effort. All right, we're hot enough now. And you can see right now when we lay this down, our heat transfer vinyl adhesive, which comes on rolls that you feed through a Silhouette or a Cricut, and it does the cutting for you, and then you weed the design out. You actually feed it through the cutter, not shiny side up, because this part is the adhesive and it's what needs to be cut and weeded out. Then we put the heat on it, and it starts to turn transparent from the heat. So you can see that right there. It just turned transparent. This little bit of stuff, that's the backing film that actually had grabbed, because it's sticky, it grabbed a little bit of foil. So we're just gonna keep heating this, and I am putting pressure on this. So the heat for this on my iron, and you have to test it with your own iron, because oh my gosh, if you don't test it with your own iron, you can melt the wrong thing the wrong way. I have another iron that works way hotter than this. I have another one that's cold. I have old irons floating around my house, and each one of these is very different. So I'm putting a little pressure here because I'm on a piece of cardboard that has some folds in it, and those folds can actually affect the way you press on this, and it transfers things because you're not going to get as even a release. So this stuff wants to be released on a firm surface. Your ironing board with its cushion is probably not good enough. You're better off putting it on a table with a piece of cardboard. So I'm working very hard to truly transfer this, and a little pressure helps, because that pressure helps push the adhesive into the fabric. So I'm just and if you see me dribble some water on here, it's just because I keep hitting this button with my hand when I push down. So I want to make sure I really, really fuse this adhesive well to the surface. And you need to remove this while it's still warm. If you try to let it cool, and trust me, I have tried this. If you try to let it cool, you actually just shred it up when you're trying to release it off of the film backing. It just pulls and sticks and does bad things to your design, so you will not be happy. So if you're at all concerned, because like I have cold air blowing on my back right now, so I actually keep the iron moving on here and try to get it good and warm before I even consider rolling it back. And I'm using a t-shirt board, and a t-shirt board is really just a piece of cardboard that I have put a little spray adhesive on so that the t-shirt fabric doesn't shift. Also, when you do this, wash the fabric first. Do not do this on a brand new t-shirt that you haven't washed, because all these fabrics have sizing in them from manufacturing. The sizing's what helps the fabric hold its shape while it's being cut and sewn. But if you don't wash out the sizing, it can affect the way this stuff bonds to your shirt. It's very important. I've only done this on 2 things that didn't get washed, And I got really lucky that it bonded well, but it can really affect it. Okay, so everybody voted for the marble shatter. This is just a drop of water that's spilled from my iron. First, I'm gonna smooth it on here because it's warm. It'll initially grab the foil. And then I'm gonna take my iron and iron on here. Now you can generally see it start to grab up on this vinyl transfer adhesive very quickly, but a little pressure also helps. So I'm going to stand up and lean on it a little. Now if you're using a t-shirt press, you want to set your t-shirt press to 325, and the adhesive releases in 3 to 5 seconds. From what I don't own a t-shirt press, so I'm just passing this information on as it was given to me. So if you own a t-shirt press, the manufacturer recommends setting your t-shirt press to 325, pressing the vinyl adhesive first for 3 to 5 seconds until it turns clear, and then pressing the foil down for 12 to 15 seconds. And then you should get a full transfer. And again, this wants to cool before you pull it back, and the reason is that the vinyl adhesive is still warm, it's still pliable, and you could pull it off. Now, sometimes I have this and it just comes off on its own because it cools quickly and it's ready to go. Sometimes it takes a little time. All right, so we got one more thing to do with our heat transfer adhesive, and I'm pulling a piece of cardboard out because last time I did this without a piece of cardboard under here, I melted the tabletop fabric through 2 layers of fabric onto the surface of the fabric. So that wasn't really good. So we're going to use this stencil that I've already weeded, except for pulling the outside. So now I just need to do that. I'm sorry, it's a little dim in here today. We had huge storms come through here. I don't know if any of you caught it on the news, but we actually had tornadoes like in downtown Chicago and right near where I live. So we've had a lot of power outage issues, and I have to, so with our old building, you know, you've been here with me live when we've lost, blown a breaker. We have had the breakers popping nonstop for the last 3 days because they're trying to fix the electrical around here, and so we get a lot of browning out and then a lot of surges, and that really messes with the air conditioning and everything. So I'm trying right now to just keep it a little less bright in here. Oh, Gigi, thank you. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fun t-shirt for the fall. I'm thinking of wearing a scarf around my neck. I got a little denim jacket and a pair of cords with that t-shirt on it. Cute as can be. All right, this is all just peeling out so nicely. This actually is a lotus pattern for this flower. And yeah, this one took kind of forever to weed because you can see there's a lot of little tiny details in here. So let's hope I don't screw this one up, because I already screwed it up once. So if I screw it up again, I'm never cutting this pattern again. All right, so there's one little spot right in here that I know still needs a weed. Okay, so I'm looking at it. I think I have all that. There's a little piece right in here. This is what you got to do. You got to take a minute, go back in. Your little piece of hair right there. I really don't want to become a permanent part of a shirt or a pillowcase or anything else. So I take this, I just check it against the light to make sure I've gotten everything weeded out, and we're all good. So we're going to use this on one of the navy blue cotton pillowcases that I picked up on Amazon. I'm going to give this just a quick press because it will help the stencil lay fast, or the transfer lay better. Now again, this pillowcase, the biggest challenge is that the zipper is right in the center in the back. So that is always going to be an issue when you have something like this that's going to challenge the shape and the placement. So the first thing I'm doing is putting it in this corner. I'm trying to stay away from this edge right here because there's a big zipper seam. Like when I iron it, you can see how the fabric changes there. All right, so we're gonna iron this here, and then we're gonna use a foil that I just brought into the studio, so I'm very excited. All right, so let's get this nice and fused on here. So it starts to turn clear really fast. And if you look at this, you can see those ridges, and what those ridges are, that's the ridges from the cardboard. So don't look at that like there's a problem. You just have to keep going back and working all the areas to make sure everything's transferred completely, that all the adhesive has turned up as close to the same level of translucency as you can. Get that back up there so I can get the pressure on it, because you want the pressure, a little pressure too. That pressure helps to fuse it to the fabric. I'm gonna stand up because I want there's a little glare on this from where I'm sitting, so I can't always see what I haven't gotten really well fused. So as much as possible, I want this to turn not just translucent, but so that it reads dark on the fabric, because that means I've really cleared this stuff. And that means it'll release easier. I won't fight it quite so much. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't listen to myself. Sometimes I don't get it heated as much as it needs to be to get a good release on it. You know, there's a learning curve with everything. And I figure you guys can watch my learning curve so that when you purchase it, you've already watched me do all the dumb things that you shouldn't do. Because trust me, if there's a way to do it wrong first, I'm really good at that. Because I look at things and think I know the way they should work. And I'm sure other people do this too. They look at something, they think they know it should work a specific way, and then they're shocked when it doesn't. Well, that's me. Now that should be ready to roll back. And again, you can see I am pulling it so that it's parallel. And I'll go back in and warm it with my iron because that'll help the release be better. Because I want as little pulling as humanly possible. Ouch, that's hot. There we go. So the only place I saw any real pulling was right there. I went back, smoothed it out, fixed it. And what are we going to use? We are going to use our Kiwi Leopard on here. Brand new foil into Painted Studio. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous colors. I'm going to take a little piece of this. Let's put the tape back on the roll so it doesn't roll across the table and unroll. And we're going to set it right on the Lotus, smoothing it out first so that that heat that was still there has an opportunity to grab this foil. And then I'm coming back. Now, if you find places once you've done this that the foil is not transferring well, come back with a brand new, fresh piece of foil. Because once you put the heat on it like I'm doing right now, you definitely do not get any good release from it if you come back and try to use this heat-touched foil a second time. You will not like the results. So I'm just checking right now to make sure that the edges are tacking it down the way they're supposed to. I think we're gonna have a fab release on this. I'm just waiting for this. I gotta wait for it to cool. Get up by the edges here, make sure I got everything up at the top. We're gonna set that to the side. So while that's done, I think this, yep, that's cool. So let's peel it back. Got a little spot right there that doesn't want to let go. Every once in a while you get a funny spot that'll grab something. Come on, let go. Let go. Like the fuse sort of, the foil sometimes wants to almost fuse permanently to the shirt, but you get it off and look how cool that is. I mean, what a great leaf. And then the little detail when you get in close, you can see all the mandala part to it. So it's not just a plain leaf, you've got some great detail. And when I do this, I come in with my hand under here and slowly loosen it because I don't want to pull this. This adhesive doesn't have a lot of stretch. So if you pull on it, it can crack your design. So you want to carefully lift it off. That's why my t-shirts, when I do this, are always on my extra huge t-shirts so that when I wear them, I don't crack them. All right, so I'm gonna pull that out, but here we go. Look at that cute, cute, cute. Oh, I like how that came out. Yeah, the weeding is worth it. It's a lot of work. That's why when somebody orders one of our designs that we've pre-cut, and this is just the extra stuff flaking off. This, you brush it off, shake it out, because sometimes you have a few extra flakes along the edges, and you just brush it off and it goes away. The extra weeding makes it worthwhile. Now, that's why we don't weed the details when we send them out, just because you can spend a lot of time doing it and it becomes cost prohibitive. Yeah, you can tell I worked in the Gap from the way I fold t-shirts. Somebody said that. It was very clear that I had worked at the Gap at one point in my life. All right, this is cooled off. Let's pull this back. Let's hope we just got as good a release, and I think we did. Might have a few spots that need a little attention. Yeah. So this is, first of all, great color. What I'm going to say is I can see I need a little here. I can see I need a little here. Not a big deal. Now, some of the weeding, you have to look at this really closely to get those details out of it. That can be an issue. You can see them from the back here, all those details. But the fun thing is, you don't have to. If you order a design like this from us, you only have to weed out just as much as you want. So if you don't want to weed any of it out and you just want the outline, you can leave it in, because once you hit that surface with the adhesive, any cut lines that might be there, they all just sort of melt together and become a solid. All right, I'm just gonna take a little extra foil because I want to clean that spot up. And all this flaky stuff, this is from the peeling off of the foil from the adhesive, and it all just flakes off and goes away. All those little flaky bits. Sometimes you might have to put it through a first wash first just to get it to stop doing that. All right, I'm gonna come back in here with my iron. Just press a little bit. And be careful with all your weeded out stuff, because you can do what I just did, which is touch the back end of the iron to it, and then it's fusing to your iron, and that's not fun. Don't worry about the stuff stuck to the back of my iron. I'll clean it off later. It won't hurt what I'm doing now. All right, so this is fused on here. I'm gonna let it cool off, and I'll clean that extra spot off in a little bit. I'm going to move all this out of the way. I'm going to turn off the iron. I'm going to get all this messiness out of the way. And we're going to start our next project. I'm going to look at that. Yeah. Oh, Kelly, it did come out so pretty. Gigi, thank you. All right, so our next project, I think you saw me do them a couple weeks ago, is the bead gel covered canvas boards, the little ones that we started for ornaments. Well, we're moving into the fall and holiday season, so I'm going to show you the whole process, start to finish, and the first part of it is this. All right, so I'm going to angle this down. I printed off, because I had shown everybody before with pages from books and things like that, but I printed off a bunch of clip art off the internet, all free clip art, so I'm not using any licensed images. So I have that, I have some Christmas ones, I have some Halloween ones, and we're gonna do a little bit of both. So the first thing I'm gonna share with you is how to prepare an inkjet printed image. So I've gotten that printed off. Oops, sorry, the breeze is blowing through. Let me flip the blower up a little bit so that we don't have any stuff going in the wrong direction. So inkjet, when you get it wet with water-based products, will bleed. Now, I've been doing this for years. So, to save your inkjet image before you brush over it, Krylon Crystal Clear. Whatever form you get it, it says with durable max technology. I don't care how durable it is. What I need it to be is non-yellowing and fast drying and acrylic. So, watch for a second. This is going to smell in here, but fortunately I have a lot of ventilation going on. I'm just doing this. That and the back. Now that will dry completely clear, but what I have now done is sealed on the ink, because once that's dry, then I can apply water-based paint products over it and not have it run. I have already done that with all the other images, and let me tell you, I need to move that one away because it's a little stinky. You know, any spray paint stuff is going to smell. The next thing we're going to do is take our different canvas board sizes. So this one is a 4x4, 3/8 inch thick Premier Artist Canvas prime panel from Dick Blick. It's primed, it's smooth and slick, but these don't come in multiple packs because they're thicker. That's a single board. So this was also the only one I could find that was smaller than 5x5, which I don't always want. I sometimes want something smaller. So I'm going to take that one. We're going to use one of the gesso boards that I bought. And these come in packs of 4. The smallest size available is 5x5. And these are all pre-primed. Now this one, it's a little pebblier texture. And I will tell you very honestly, the smoother, the absolute silky smoother they are, the more expensive they become. Now this one is like silk. It's been polished, it's super smooth. This one has a little bit of a texture to it. It's a gesso board. In the end, it won't show. Now let me see if I can find my last set of boards that I moved over here, and I don't know where I put, but I had a couple that were 5x7s. So I think we'll just start with these two first. Each of my images are printed to fit an approximate size. I played with these on Photoshop, so even though I specifically cut this designed this image to be 4x4, it's actually just a little less. So to get this mounted the way I want, I could either cut it or I could mount it on here and then cut along the edges to get it to the perfect right size. So what I'm actually doing is I'm trimming this around the edges. I know this image is not quite the right fit for this. So really what I'm going to do is I'm trimming down the sides here. And when I mount this at the end, when we do the details, I'll make sure there's details that cover this seam. Because there was just a little tiny bit that doesn't make it all the way to the edge. I spent my entire childhood doing stuff like this. I lived for a good craft moment. So now the next thing I want to do is figure out exactly how much of this image I want to see. You know, whether I want the little girl, if I want to see any of the happy holidays stuff, and really I just want the little girl to show. So I know that I want to cut this top edge off so that the top of the hat shows. I'm working with the smallest one, and of course there's my bucket. Thought I left my bucket of stuff in the wrong place. Hang on, let me grab a brush. Okay. I gotta take the brace off for this because this gets goopy. All right, so I'm going to take a little Art Faux Effects Set Coat Clear, which is my go-to decoupage medium, and the reason is I choose this over everything else. A, it's interior, exterior rated. I can put this outside, it will not break down. Also, it then creates a super durable, paintable surface that's not glossy, which I don't want when I'm creating an under layer. You know, if I wanted it shiny on top, I'll put the shine on at the end. So I'm going to put this down here. I've applied it all over the entire surface. I'm pressing it down, smoothing it, and I'll have little edges and bits sticking up that I'll trim later. I don't trim this perfectly until it's completely dry. The reason for that is that this will dry up harder and then it'll cut easier, whereas right now when it's wet, it's miserable to cut. I've only made the paper wet and mushy and I'm likely to shred it. So I'm just going to brush this like this, and you can see I only got a little bit of ink transfer, where if I had done this without sealing it, it would have been really bad. So I'm going to come in here with my fingers, I'm smoothing this down. There's always a little bit of buckling in the paper because these papers are porous. And any place the color's built up where I don't like it, I'm just coming back and wiping it off with my fingers. So now I have this nice vintage image transferred onto a block. We're going to transfer this one over here. And let's see which one. That's Christmas, so I think I probably should do a Halloween one. So let's go with this guy, who I think is just so cute. So I'm going to trim him down just a little. Because again, a slightly smaller piece of paper is a lot easier to place on a 5x5 than a big one. I am not worrying about how straight I'm cutting, because at the end, like this one, I'll be trimming that off with an X-Acto knife once it's dry. Alrighty, so we're gonna take that. Where'd my brush go? Right here. Okay, so I dip in. Brush the surface 100% coverage, and I lay it down. Let's make sure I got all that I wanted to see in there. Yep, I got his little face, I got the cap, everything's good. I'm smoothing it with my hand like I'm squeegee. Do not use something harder than your hand to do this. Hey Lori, nice to see you here. So don't do anything smoothing this stronger than your hand, because you know, the printer paper is inexpensive paper. So it gets moist, it wants to expand, which means that you're going to get a lot of pulp out of it. So if you try to smooth it with something harder than your hands and going gently at it with your finger, you're going to shred or dissolve the paper. And I'm just going to come back here with the Set Coat Clear. Coat the entire surface. Smooth it. I'm still getting a little ink transfer because this is very inky here, but in the end it won't matter as long as I've made the image stable enough so that when I do this I don't completely ruin it. I just want to wipe the little bit of coloration out of the creasing there. And I don't mind this little bit of bleed because it actually makes for a nice orangish background. You just have to manipulate it like you do everything else, and then stop playing with it and set it aside. Okay. Terry, is the product similar to Mod Podge? Yes and no. Mod Podge is sort of a gluey, shiny, gummy kind of product, which is part of the reason I don't like it. And I've used a lot of Mod Podge. Set Coat is the translucent base. Set Coat Clear is the translucent base for Set Coat, meaning that it dries with an oil-based smoothness, oil-based paint smoothness, meaning that it's interior and exterior rated, meaning that I can apply other products over it and the surface will accept it really well, but not make it so that I can't manipulate products on top of it. So that's the difference. Mod Podge is a little more like a standard gel medium, which means that it doesn't have quite the same bonding properties, and as to the best of my knowledge, and I could be wrong, I haven't looked at a jar of Mod Podge in a couple of years to see if they changed it, but Mod Podge is not interior and exterior rated. And for me, having a product that can be used outside as well as inside is a big benefit. But mostly the fact is this dries to a spectacularly perfect paintable surface, as opposed to something too slick, too shiny, doesn't like to grab an even matte. I think there's a matte Mod Podge now. It still doesn't like other stuff painted on it. It's a little challenging. It wants to kind of resist that. So there's, I'm sorry for the babbling answer, but that's the answer. Personally, I find Set Coat Clear to be a far superior product for decoupage than Mod Podge. My personal opinion on that, I've used it, I've taught with it. I think some of that though may be a personal choice, so the only thing I can suggest is try a little of this and see how you like it if you're a decoupager. Where did I get my image? I went online and Googled copyright-free Halloween or Christmas clip art. That's what I did. There's tons of it out there, so I can take those images and use them and profit from them without having it be something that I needed a license for. Did I make my shirt? No. This is a Free People shirt, I think, that I got at the beginning of the summer. How does it do on fabric? Terry, I assume you're asking about the Set Coat Clear. It works like any other acrylic paint on fabric, meaning you brush it on. If it's not designed for fabric, you might not have the flexibility, meaning it can crack. I've used Set Coat on chairs, upholstered chairs. The problem with non-fabric paint on upholstered furniture is that when you sit on it, it can crack the paint. But it'll bond to fabric, no problem. You can use it on there. It won't wash off. Like iron-on stuff, I don't recommend you iron or put it in the dryer. Okay, I think I got all your questions. All right, it is 4:30 now. I'm going to take a little break because I haven't even had my lunch yet. Heck, you know my days. This is still my coffee. from this morning, which is a sad thing for me to be admitting. So while I'm gone, I'm going to mount the rest of these images on the blocks that I have here, and we're going to start embellishing them and seeing how we can zhuzh them up and make them awesome even before we put the bead gel on them. All right, everybody, see you in a little bit. Thanks for popping in. Keep the sprinkles. Can't wait to see you in about an hour.